Well, this is the type of rock that we have processed. It's an iron formation type of graphite, so you can see the rock, and it would be very similar to what EPR has on their site. And so we've been able to separate this rock into graphite. So this bowl here.
Talking graphite here with ePower Resources and Volt Carbon, both based in Quebec, Canada. Vibon, James, great to have you here. You've both got a deal.
Yes, we sure have. I guess the highlights of the deal are Volt Carbon in exchange for an option to acquire 5% of our flagship Tetapisca property. Volt Carbon will provide us with $680,000 for exploration on the property during the calendar year 2024. And then thereafter, Volt Carbon has the option to acquire the 5%, has the entire year 2025 to decide, and the acquisition cost then would be $1.5 million. And Volt Carbon will also be awarded, as the exploration dollars are spent, 6.6 million shares of ePower and become a significant shareholder.
And so Vibon, how does that fit into your current business model? Looking at your website, you are into early exploration, but you're also into midstream, so processing. How does that add value for Volt Carbon right now?
This adds tremendous value. We've actually tested, from a technical perspective, we tested graphite from many deposits around the world. And some deposits are much more suitable for the dry processes that we have. And we have found that region in Quebec where ePower Resources have its large land holdings. In that geology, we seem to be able to dry separate graphite very effectively. So some of the head grades in that area that we've seen range between 20 and 30%. And I've looked at their property, EPR's property, and it has tremendous potential. And there's a lot of outcropping that I see in that area where, you could quarry some of the material out and it would be very rich in graphite from what I see in both the pictures and the geology, and also looking at the geophysics of the property. So we're very excited. Their property is very close to another property of where we have some work on, and they're also very close to the Mason property, which has a substantial amount of resource. So there is no doubt in my mind that we will be able to find more graphite, and we will find the type of graphite that is suitable for our processing.
And Vibon, perhaps we can quickly dive into the processing, just a shallow dive, not too technical, of course. But you, of course, in graphite, like explained before this call, have a normal circuit with a flotation column, and you're doing a completely dry process. Can you perhaps explain the benefits and the negatives of going this dry process route?
Yeah, well, the benefits are that we actually have no reagents at all. From the crushing steps, we do the same thing as if you were going through a traditional flotation process. We would crush it. We would take it down to a certain mesh size. And after that, that's where the process separates. We come into our dry processing. Some of it's done by air and other dry processing methods. And we're able to unlock the large flake that comes off of these properties. And most of our graphite is actually larger than 100 mesh. And so that's where we are finding that the graphite is really pure once you are able to unlock it in that type of form. By doing that, we save, in some instances, even up to 10 circuits of flotation. We don't have to pump any waste out. And in addition, we've also just released news that we're able to separate the tailings also into an iron concentrate. It's very exciting for us. We actually, in a way, we're taking everything out of the ground, putting very little back. We haven't accumulated any waste that we have to put back in the ground. So from the rock that we take out, it's really graphite. And if it's an iron formation ore body, we get iron. And if it's hosted in some type of biotite or silica, we get sand.
So Vibon, as you just described, that looks like a very high ESG score along the process.
My view is it is going to be extremely high. And in fact, the footprint to graphite concentrate is a very high score. From there onwards, it's going to be probably slightly lower because now from there from a concentrate, we have to spheroidize it. And we're hoping because of the structure of the graphite we might be able to get to battery grade anode without the coating.
Sounds exciting, and we'll be there 2nd of March on site. Looking forward to the tour with you and looking at the graphite samples you brought along. Just a quick kind of sneak preview for our audience. What are we looking at here?
Well, this is the type of rock that we have processed. It's an iron formation type of graphite. So you can see the the rock, and it would be very similar to what EPR has on their site. This rock actually came from the adjacent property, which is the Brookwood Graphite Project. And so we've been able to separate this rock into graphite. So this bowl here, this vat here, let me just move the camera over.
Yeah, that's a very nice punch bowl. I'd love to have that on my table as well. That's pretty pure graphite, huh? That looks like a 98% grade.
Yeah, this is 98%. We're just afraid of the spilling, so I just got to be careful. But yeah, this is typical of what we would, how we would separate it. And then from here, then we have a byproduct that is actually an iron concentrate here. So this is an iron concentrate. So the rock comes out, we quarry it out, and we're hoping that we can get on site with ePower Resources, take the rock out, crush it to a certain size, process it through a dry separation process, and then also extract the byproducts as well. So our goal is to really put nothing back into the ground.
Because graphite has very specific characteristics, and apart from the grade, it is also about the flake size and other attributes. So is that fair to say that this is about de-risking the project, because you're kind of already laying the path here for a future offtake agreement?
Absolutely de-risking. And the other thing we like to do as well, engineers, scientists, is we like to introduce a process that will enable EPR to bring their product to market sooner. So the dry separation process is really quick. I don't have to spend any time wetting it, drying it. It just goes through our machines and then it comes out in this kind of form. So that's one thing that helps them bring their product to market. The other service that we also offer is when you come see our battery plant, you'll see that we have a number of batteries under test. So for us to take that graphite, spin it into a battery grade anode, build some electrodes and put them in coin cells, we have a very short lead time. So, I could take this graphite and within a week I could have them in coin cells. So that also enables EPR's material to be validated here, as well as we have partners, and that was announced in the news last quarter. We have a partner, C4V, which is also taking a graphite, looking at how they can put it through their green anode process, supplying that through their gigafactory as well.
I mean, that sounds amazing. And James, Vibon just mentioned fast track to revenue. What timelines are we looking at here? How is it going to speed up the business case, the roadmap to revenue for EPR?
Well, our mineral processing agreement with Volt Carbon that we just signed back in October enables us to ask Volt Carbon to process graphite ore for us into a graphite concentrate, and as Vibon said, something like a 98% purity. So it'll then be a product, or you could call it a sample, that can be delivered to manufacturers of anode material, who can then go ahead and test the graphite. So it's really a parallel way for us to advance the project. We're advancing toward a 43101 resource, but at the same time advancing the, commercial side of the business by getting processed samples in front of manufacturers who may decide this graphite works perfectly for us and we'd like to help you fund exploration. So it can lead to additional partners.
Basically, the roadmap to final production, to getting the mine up and running, that's of course a time scale that is more or less set fixed. But what you're doing here is securing potential financing along the way by bringing in additional partners for a future offtake agreement.
Yeah, just adding to what James is saying, it's a really uphill battle for any junior graphite company, because first you got to get out of the ground, you got to get in this form, graphite concentrate, right? And then from there, it's another uphill battle because it has to be validated and the process has to be adjusted so that it can actually go into a lithium-ion battery. It's got to be able to pack properly inside a battery. Pack density's got to be there, the surface area's got to be right, and in the battery when it operates, it's going to expand and contract. So the structure of the graphite is really important from a safety perspective. So those are the things that we can actually help EPR with, is to predetermining some of that. And when we get this in front of a battery manufacturer, including ourselves, we're able to adjust the processing in a way that we have a safe battery. And in addition to that, we have some trade restrictions here in North America now as well. So, we believe our process here will virtually make the trade restrictions non-issue, right? Because we've got a way of getting it out of the ground. We can get it out of the ground even better than traditional methods. So from a competition perspective, we're pretty confident that we will be able to get good quality graphite out and really push back on our competition here that are putting trade restrictions on our country.